We start the episode with a villain putting wires together. At first I thought that it must be God's eye, so when I saw the nails, I couldn't help but think, okay, slaking. But it turns out that it was a completely different person setting up bombs in the canalization. After the opening, we see Miss J and Nice in a meeting to capture the nemesis of the hero, Fearman. However, Miss J points out that Nice kept zoning out, and it was clear to her that he was thinking about Moon. She asked him why he didn't just leave with her. I'm not sure if Miss J was trying to be kind in this scene, or if she didn't care if Linling left because she could find a new Nice. But either way, Nice did not respond to her question, and they continued their meeting. They discussed how Fearman became a hero. Fearman was a firefighter and saved a child while on duty. He stood strong through the scorching heat and heavy weight of a fallen pillar on his shoulder until the rest of the firefighters arrived. This act of heroism made him an overnight sensation, and thus, Fearman was born. But what launched him into becoming the top 10 hero was when he defeated Isol's nemesis, Magic Shadows, and can I just say that the way he defeated that nemesis had me dropping my jaw? I had the same expression as the guy eating ramen at the convenience store when I saw that scene. Ever since then, the association erected a statue of him made of diamond at the top of the Hero Avenue. The statue was supposed to represent the hero's will to protect the world and remain ever standing, just like him. The little girl he saved was at the ceremony and knitted him a scarf or stole according to the translation. Honestly, I have no idea what the differences are between those two. She wanted to put it over his head, but was unable to. So the association representative, who we saw in the opening by the way, did it for her instead. This red stole became a symbol for Fearman. Miss J asked Nice if he knew what to do now, and he says that it's to defeat Wolf Girl. But Miss J says that they're using Wolf Girl to go up in ranking and take the number 10 spot from Fearman. Nice finds that to be rude. After all, they're both signed in the same agency. But Miss J says, and finally confirms, that there are many heroes out there, but there can only be one who can claim the title of X. Nice and Miss J head to one of the entrances to Wolf Girl's den, and Nice realizes the reason why Fearman can't hunt his nemesis himself. The only way to enter into the den would be for him to crawl in, and as a hero with the public belief that he should remain standing tall and steady, he cannot bend down, much less crawl. We later find out how that affected his private life to the point where he can't even shit or sleep properly. That poor guy. Miss J asks Nice what he thinks makes a dangerous villain, and he answers with, magic? But in her opinion, what makes them dangerous is imagination. I have a feeling that the nemesis of the top 10 heroes are going to be really creative people. And you know who worked in a creative field that even had Moon impressed when he built a swing for her? Lin Ling, that's who. I think that his creativity will play a big role in this story. Otherwise, why would they point something like this out? Wolf Girl needed to weaken people's belief on Fearman, so she's been creating propaganda against him. This is truly a great way to take down and weaken heroes. It is the same with friends. Tarnish them and their value will go down until they become bankrupt. Wolf Girl was truly a smart villain. He needed to isolate Fearman at the Hero Avenue when he was giving a lecture to a bunch of kids on a field trip, and the best way to do that was to trap several heroes under the canalization when the bombs she set up eventually exploded. The statue of Fearman that represents the hero's will fell down on him. Wolf Girl grabbed one of the children running away and threatened their life if Fearman didn't drop the statue. What's more important? The representation, the package of a hero, or an innocent life? People were urging Fearman to drop the statue and save the girl, but before he could make a choice, our diva arrived. Nice is so extra doing flips in the air just to stand in between those two. Like, come on, guy. Calm down. When Fearman urges him to save the child, Nice said that it's not necessary because Wolf Girl will not harm the child, nor was she here to destroy the statue. She's here to destroy the burdens placed on his shoulders. The belief that he needs to stand strong forever, the belief that he's not allowed to show vulnerability, and the belief that he's not allowed to be human and show emotions. Because Wolf Girl was actually the little girl who he saved in that fire, and who gave him the stole that became his symbol. She wanted to bring the firefighter back who saved her, the one who helped with no hesitation and held on to a pillar as the fire rages on despite not having any powers. To her, that person was a true hero. The day she gave him that stole, he realized the burden that was placed on his shoulders. Ever since then, she's been trying to tell people that Firman isn't just a muscular hero who is steadfast and strong. No, he was a man who made jokes, who cried, and cared. He was human, and for that, she was labeled as a liar who wanted to tarnish his reputation. As Firman remembers the little girl who gave him courage and strength to persevere, a single teardrop falls down his eyes and onto the boots, preventing him from crumbling down. This was the moment he lost his powers, showing the world the vulnerable side of him. Right before he was squashed by the statue, Nice swoops in to hold it up for him instead. I have been thinking about how Firman, holding up the statue, reminded me of Atlas from Greek mythology. Atlas was punished by Zeus for leading the rebellion in Titanomachia. His punishment was to hold up the world for eternity, carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. If I remember correctly, the only time he was freed from his punishment was during Hercules' 12 labors. Hercules held up the world for him while Atlas went to pick the golden apples in Hera's garden. When he returned, he tried to trick Hercules into holding the world in his stead forever. But Hercules realized what he was doing and tricked Atlas to holding back the weight of the world again before he ran away with the apples. This whole scene is quite literally a passing of the torch scene between Firman and Nice. It was framed in a way that showcases Firman in the light, where he is free once more from the burden of being a hero, from the weight of the world on his shoulders, whereas Nice was in the shadows casted by the statue, now burdened by the expectations of being the number 10 hero. Nice visited the 10th floor of the hero tower that used to belong to Firman. In this scene, we find out how belief of the people shaping them as heroes can be a curse too. While Moon couldn't use her teleportation powers because society wanted her to be tied to Nice, Firman was unable to bend his knees, couldn't sit or lay down and get proper rest. Linling as Nice, the perfect hero, was starting to show signs of OCD, and we can see it throughout not only this episode but also in the previous one when Nice had to wash his hands after throwing food at his statue. He mentioned how the OCD was affecting his anxiety. This made me wonder if the original Nice actually started developing OCD tendencies once he started becoming a hero, or if he had it all along. My bet is that it started when he became a hero. Nice confesses to Firman that he's not the original Nice, and Firman just shrugs it off, saying that no matter who you are, just be yourself. This proves that heroes of certain ranks know that they're replaceable, and it makes me sad how nobody cared that Nice has been replaced. We flash back to a scene of Moon saying that, while she doesn't know what she wants, she knows what she doesn't want. And what she doesn't want is to be Nice's girlfriend and a hero. Linling to this day still doesn't know what he wants as Nice, but judging by episode 4's preview, we will get his answer there. Apropos Moon, our final scene has her shown on every screen in the city as God's Eye holds her hostage. His goal? To expose Nice as a fake. Alright, summaries are done, let's get on to the theory. First off, I'm going to say that there's a possibility that this Moon is a fake. God's Eye covered her mouth before she could say anything, because I think that if he let her talk, it will be obvious to us and to Linling that this might just be a random girl that God's Eye is using to trick Nice. After all, God's Eye is a villain who wants to bring about the truth no matter what. Who's to say he won't use an illusion to create a fake Moon for Nice to confess that he's actually Linling? I really just want Moon to enjoy her vacation. It's cruel to have her have the taste of freedom once more only for it to be snatched away after a couple of days. When I first saw the red stole the little girl gave to Firman, I instantly thought of the Little Red Riding Hood, especially since his nemesis is called Wolf Girl, and it instantly clicked in my brain that that same little girl could be his nemesis. This was like a weird spin of the fairy tale. Firman, as Little Red Riding Hood, was in the clutches of the three-man company. Despite her being the Wolf Girl, he is actually the hunter in this role. The wolf mask she is wearing is made of the animal's skull, showcasing her goal to kill the wolf, the Three-Man Company, and save Fearman from their clutches. Of the nemesis we've seen so far, Wreck and Wolf Girl, it seems like they're the only ones to see the actual humans in the heroes and cares for them deeply. This makes me wonder about Isol's nemesis Magic Shadows, who both had a cameo in this episode. Since the heroes are all intimately tied to their nemesis, what would be the relationship between Isol and Magic Shadows? Especially with the brutal way Magic Shadows died. Imagine if they were close like Wreck and Nice, and Isol had to watch his friend die in front of him like that. I was going to address that Nice isn't the number 10 hero in this video, because in the previous analysis videos I made, I mentioned that he was ranked 10. Because of what Redditor _ found out a couple of days ago, the elevator scene in episode 1 showed Nice living on the 12th floor in the hero tower, and that in promotional materials we see them use the same number for 2. Tell me, please, in what world does this look like a number 2? Anyway, while Miss J was training Lin Ling at the beginning of episode 1, we get a peek at her tablet and it states that Nice was ranked 15. So that means that after the incident at True Love Recipe, Nice's popularity skyrocketed to rank 12 before dropping back down to 15 after Moon's death, because at the beginning of this episode, we see that Nice is now ranked as the number 15th hero. Is this why Miss J had him go after Wolf Girl to raise up his rank once more? Society can be extremely fickle, and we don't know how long it's been since Moon left for her vacation. This is why I don't think she's the one that was taken as a hostage, because as far as we know, Moon went on vacation to a tropical country. How could God's Eye track her down so quickly if it's only been a couple of days? Thinking about Greek mythology reminded me of Roman numerals, and how X is actually the number 10 in that system. And who is now the current number 10 hero in the story and promotional materials? Nice! Now that we know that Lin Ling is the one who actually achieved the rank, those PV materials take on a whole new meaning. Because I have been thinking how odd it is that they're using the original Nice for the PVs, in a way shafting Lin Ling, their main character, to the side. But I thought that maybe they just didn't want to spoil people by showcasing Lin Ling with his brown hair and white tuft that we will see for sure in the future according to the ending song of the show. Aside from the scene where Nice and Rek were fighting, how are we to know that it's actually Nice and not Lin Ling that we are seeing? But you know what I also noticed? That in Nice's PV fight against Rek, Nice was wearing shoulder armor, whereas Lin Ling doesn't. It's confusing because on the scene with Nice and Moon, Nice wasn't wearing those shoulder armor either. Depending on Rek's status, if he's still alive and we'll see him in the future, we will know if that PV fight was actually from the past or the future. If that shoulder armor also happens to be a power-up, we can also deduce that this Nice we're seeing is Lin Ling. This begs the question, who is really the original Nice, if all the Nice we've seen so far has actually been Lin Ling? The person who learned ballet and incorporated it in his fighting style was Lin Ling all along. If the show never answers this question, it will be a great commentary of how even we as the viewer assume things about the original Nice, and how our perception of him in the PVs shaped Lin Ling. According to the preview we've had for episode 4, we're going to be seeing a return of brown-haired Lin Ling, and it might also be the birth of a new hero, Nice, who is both Lin Ling and Nice. In some promo materials, we see X and Nice being the only heroes wearing white, or in some cases, more white than the rest of the cast. Could it be because Nice and X are the only heroes to have an alter ego that they can go back to that is not affected by the public's belief? After all, we've seen what could happen with Fearman and now Nice's OCD. Anyway, back to X being the Roman numeral 10. I wouldn't be surprised if this is some form of foreshadowing and double meaning. After all, writers love to give meaningful titles to their works. At the same time, in algebra, X is a number we are searching for. That could also mean that anyone can be X. What are your thoughts about this week's episodes? Were you guys excited to see Isol's cameo? Now I'm very curious about how this story will turn out knowing that his nemesis is dead. What are your thoughts about Moon possibly being a fake one? Or about how nice in all the PVs were actually Lin Ling all along? Leave your thoughts down below, I'd love to read it. Also, my webcomic is finally up. The first episode is available on Webtoon. Please give it a read. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!
What's that smell? What are you drinking?
Tea.
What kind of tea's that?
Tequila. It's been a rough morning.